is pronunciation?
Okay, so I guess pronunciation is quite a wide topic, right? But I like to break it into two parts, like phonetics and phonology. So we talk about phonetics, we talk about the isolated sounds, and these are usually represented using one IPA symbol. So it's like very simple, like the N sound or the R sound. And then when we talk about phonology, we look at it in a suprasegmental way. So we look at connected speech, stress, tones, and how even changing tones can change meaning, etc.
That has really helped me. And of course, we can find IPA symbols in Adrian Underhill's phonemic chart.
Absolutely. I use it all the time. Sometimes I don't use the full chart because it can be quite overwhelming for students, because if you give them the whole chart, sometimes they're not, especially if they don't usually see it. So what I do love about those symbols is that they give the students a point of reference for a sound, right? I mean, like, yes, we have ABC. English is made up of alphabet, right? ABCs. But as you know, A could be pronounced several different ways, right?
I'm exactly the same. I love having that point of reference, like you're saying. And I would usually choose maybe a few sounds, maybe a few vowel sounds to teach in a lesson, or maybe a few consonant sounds. And it does help a lot when, for beginner students, I would say I would choose quite distinct sounds. But for more advanced students who may feel like they've plateaued and they kind of already know about pronunciation, I would give them that level of challenge by sounds that are neighboring, that are very, very close to each other, but that difference can really, really impact on their pronunciation, and just show them how to get from this to just absolutely the best they can do.
Right. And I also like to, even for beginner students, I even start to focus a little bit on connected speech without going too into detail about it. I do still focus on it because I feel like they should get it from the beginning. They should be able to speak more naturally. So instead of because I don't know if you're aware of this, when certain Chinese people speak in a quite staccato manner. So they like this, and it's very robotic, but we try to make them speak in a more like flowy sort of way by getting them to focus on connected speech and looking at which parts like you would join together, which parts you would take out, and then it helps them from the beginning to kind of be aware of phonology or connected speech, and then sure they can use it when they're listening or when they're speaking. Yeah.
And one of my favorite resources to use when I talk about sentence intonation is Cuisenaire rods. I pick up the same Cuisenaire rod for words that are pronounced more or less on the same level in the sentence, and then different ones for the ones that we're supposed to stress. And it's almost like putting one next to the other to visually represent how the sentence should be uttered. And if there are any words that we pronounce together, like for example, we don't say I have, we say I bring the rods together just to visually show.
You do it online.
We can do it online. Absolutely. The camera. Yeah, you can use the camera. You can use them for individual words as well, for example, just to show you get the different rod to show which syllable or syllables are stressed in the words. So yeah, it's one of the things that with young learners or with adults, it's always going to be fun because it feels like playing, but actually learners are completely engaged, especially if you give them the Cuisenaire rods, if you're teaching a face-to-face lesson, or if they have any blocks, any Lego blocks around them, and you tell them, okay, now your turn. Can you show me how this sentence is uttered? And they try to kind of like build it. It's so much fun.
I could use the board a lot, so I like to draw places of articulation. That means drawing the cross-section of the mouth. So there was this one time where I had a student, and she's from this particular area in China, the south of China, where they cannot pronounce the n sound, the ng sound, the r and the l sound. They cannot differentiate it, and somehow pronounce some of it. So I had this one student had this problem with 4 of these sounds, and I spent like 2 hours with her in a room with a whiteboard, and then I was just drawing these cross-section pictures of like how her mouth should be positioned for each of those sounds, and she had to learn it from scratch.
What you're saying brings to mind another resource that we can use, recordings. Yes, I always try to encourage my students to watch, or just plainly beyond the classroom, just record yourself, compare it to someone who's a more expert speaker than you, and try to identify what kind of things you can improve on. Of course, I can help you, but also just to show them, to give them the tools, and to say, you know what, I am here to help, but you can also do this yourself. You are in charge of your learning. You have autonomy. This is what you can do. I am showing it to you. Now take it and apply it in your own time. Try to apply it in real life when you're speaking.
So you were talking about student autonomy, and one of like the learning strategy tips that I give to my student is for them to practice with their friends, and they can use their phones to not translate, but like dictate. Because you have that on your phone, you have that on Word, right? Where if you say dictates what you're saying, right? That's a good way for them to instead of texting each other by typing, they can speak to their phones, and their phones will kind of dictate what they're saying. And then they can see which words they're not pronouncing as clearly.